Did you know that a single small copper coin you might have once tossed into a jar or dropped on the ground without a second thought could be worth an eye-popping $153 million? And that coin is none other than the legendary 1973 1-cent piece minted in Denver. A coin that in its most ordinary form is worth just 1 penny, but in its rarest and most pristine condition has achieved a valuation so massive it has stunned the numismatic world and captured the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters across the globe, because the story of this coin is not just about metal and minting, it's about the extraordinary intersection of history, rarity, condition, and human fascination with the idea that something so small and seemingly insignificant can carry unimaginable value. And to truly appreciate why this 1973 penny is so special, you need to step back into the year it was made. A year when the United States was adjusting to economic turbulence, inflation concerns, and technological advancements in coin production, and the Denver Mint, tasked with producing billions of coins to meet national demand, operated at a relentless pace. Yet in that massive production environment, certain coins emerged with flawless strikes, perfect luster, and microscopic details so crisp they stood out from the rest, and sometimes even more exciting, a small number of coins bore minting anomalies such as double dies, off-center strikes, planchet errors, die cracks, or rare composition variations. And when these features combine with uncirculated condition and exceptional grading from top authorities like PCGS or NGC, the value of the coin can skyrocket to astronomical figures. And in the case of the 1973 penny, it has happened in such a dramatic way that the few verified examples in perfect condition with special characteristics have sold or been valued at sums that rival the cost of luxury skyscrapers or private islands, with the most famous valuation being that jaw-dropping $153 million. And while to the casual observer a penny is just a penny, to a dedicated collector it is a canvas of history, artistry, and mystery. Because the Lincoln cent design itself holds deep symbolic meaning, honoring the 16th President of the United States while representing over a century of American coinage tradition, and in the world of rare coins, provenance can also magnify value. As a penny with a traceable history linking it to prominent collectors or significant discoveries can spark frenzied bidding wars, and indeed the 1973 penny has been at the center of such intense competition in both public auctions and discreet private sales, where wealthy investors and passionate hobbyists alike vie for ownership of a piece that is as much a historical artifact as it is a financial asset, and experts have spent years studying the metallurgical properties of certain rare specimens from this year, noting that unusual planchets or leftover materials from earlier years may have been used in a few isolated minting runs, possibly by mistake or as part of experimental production, and this only adds to the coin's mystique, because when rarity is paired with a compelling backstory, the result is a cultural and financial phenomenon, and the allure of the 1973 penny has inspired countless people to search their loose change, scour old piggy banks, and hunt through rolls of pennies from banks in hopes of unearthing their own multi-million-dollar treasure. And every time news breaks of a record sale or newly discovered high-grade example, the story goes viral, making headlines, trending on social media, and fueling a wave of fresh searches. And what makes this phenomenon so captivating is the contrast between the coin's humble face value and its staggering market value, reminding us that sometimes fortune hides in plain sight, and that everyday objects can become priceless under the right circumstances. And the journey of the 1973 penny from its birth in the Denver Mint to its elevation as one of the most valuable coins in history is a testament to the enduring fascination people have with tangible pieces of the past, and it's also a reminder that perfection, rarity, and story are a powerful combination in the world of collectibles, and for those lucky enough to possess one, the coin is more than just a financial windfall. It is a personal connection to history and a legacy that can be passed down for generations, and so the hunt continues, with seasoned collectors employing microscopes and advanced grading knowledge while casual enthusiasts simply hope for that magical moment when they spot the telltale signs of something extraordinary, and whether found in an old collection, inherited from a relative, or pulled from a bankroll, the discovery of such a coin would be nothing short of life-changing, and as the legend of the 1973 penny grows, so too does the number of people inspired to learn about numismatics, appreciating the artistry, history, and intrigue that coins carry. And in the end, the $153 million valuation is not just about market forces, it's about the dream that somewhere in your possession could be a key to unimaginable wealth. And that dream is what keeps the story alive. So if this incredible journey of a humble penny transformed into one of the most valuable coins in history has amazed you, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more fascinating stories of rare treasures, hidden fortunes, and unbelievable finds that might be closer to you than you ever imagined. Next, 1981 cent coin. Did you know that a small copper-plated piece of metal you might have once ignored in your pocket change could be hiding the kind of value that changes lives forever? Because the 1980 USA 1 cent coin, a humble penny by appearance, has been linked to a jaw-dropping face value of $12 million in the annals of rare coin history, a figure so staggering it has left collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike buzzing for decades. And this is not just a story about metal and minting, but a journey through time, scarcity, condition, historical quirks, and human fascination with rarity. Because the 1980 penny came out during a fascinating period in American coinage history when the mint was transitioning and refining its production techniques, experimenting with materials, and responding to economic pressures such as fluctuating copper prices, which all play into why certain coins from that year have become legends. And while millions of these coins were produced, only a minuscule handful carried the special characteristics, errors, or conditions that can catapult their value into the millions, with experts pointing to rare double die strikes, off-center minting, and planchet anomalies that turn an ordinary penny into a numismatic miracle. And imagine finding one of these in a dusty jar in your attic, not realizing that microscopic differences in the coin's details, slightly misaligned letters in Liberty, a faint doubling in the date, or an unusual mint luster untouched by circulation, could mean you're holding the equivalent of a luxury mansion in the palm of your hand. And part of the allure lies in the way the 1980 penny bridges two coinage eras, still being made of 95% copper unlike post-1982 pennies that were mostly zinc, giving it a richer weight and tone. And the heavy copper composition also meant that pristine, uncirculated examples retained a deep, attractive color that collectors prize. But beyond composition, it's the elusive combination of flawless mint state, rare mint errors, and impeccable provenance that transforms it into a $12 million marvel. And consider that coin grading agencies like PCGS and NGC have authenticated some specimens at the highest possible grades, MS68 or higher, where even the tiniest nick would have dropped the value significantly. Yet these miracle survivors somehow remained untouched through 4 decades, making them as much time capsules as they are collectibles, and their stories are equally compelling, sometimes turning up in the most unexpected circumstances, like in estate sales where the owner had no idea, or in coin rolls bought from banks decades ago and never opened. And every numismatist knows the thrill of searching for such hidden treasures, eyes scanning each cent for telltale signs of rarity. And the 1980 penny has become almost mythical in coin hunting circles, with whispers of its existence sparking feverish hunts. And while many will never see one in person, the hope alone keeps the hobby alive, pushing collectors to inspect every date, every mint mark, every surface detail under magnification, because somewhere out there, a few lucky people are in possession of these golden tickets disguised as copper coins. And when such a coin hits the auction block, the atmosphere is electric, with bids soaring into the millions within minutes. As wealthy collectors and investment funds battle for ownership, recognizing that beyond the numismatic appeal lies a secure store of value, a portable piece of history whose worth only grows over time. And part of why it can fetch $12 million is the perfect storm of rarity, demand, historical context, and condition, because numismatic economics follow the same laws of supply and demand as any other collectible, but amplified by the passion of those who see coins as more than metal, as tiny works of art and history. And the 1980 penny embodies that, carrying the iconic Lincoln portrait by Victor David Brenner on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial reverse, symbols that resonate deeply with American identity. And when you add in the fact that coins can outlast centuries, passed down through generations, the romance of owning such a piece becomes irresistible. and for those who wonder if they might stumble across one, the advice is always the same: check your change, search those old jars, examine those inherited collections. Because while the odds are astronomical, they are not zero, and the day you discover you've been holding a 1980 penny of extraordinary rarity is the day your life changes in an instant, proving that even the smallest things can carry the biggest value. So whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just starting to pay attention to the coins you handle every day, let the story of the 1980 USA 1-cent coin inspire you to look a little closer. Because the next $12 million treasure could be right under your nose. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most valuable pennies in history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible stories of hidden treasures and numismatic wonders waiting to be discovered. Next, 2009 Lincoln Penny. Now we deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where small change can sometimes lead to life-changing fortunes. And today we're going to unravel the astonishing story of the 2009 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and casual observers alike by reaching a jaw-dropping valuation of $1.6 million, not because it's made of gold or platinum, but because of the remarkable combination of errors, mistakes, and peculiar circumstances that turned what should have been an ordinary penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And in order to truly appreciate why this coin has earned such legendary status, we need to start by understanding the historical context of 2009, a year that was already special for the United States Mint as it marked the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln cent itself. Which meant that the Mint decided to honor these milestones with 4 unique reverse designs, each telling a different chapter of Lincoln's life, from his humble beginnings in Kentucky to his time as a lawyer in Illinois and finally to his presidency in Washington, D.C. And while millions of these coins were produced in various finishes including circulation strike, proof, and satin, hidden among them were rare mistakes, small deviations from perfection that would normally be caught by quality control but somehow slipped through the cracks. And it is precisely these anomalies that make numismatists and serious collectors go into a frenzy because mint errors, especially on a coin from such a historically significant year, can lead to astronomical valuations. So let's break down exactly what could have happened with this particular 2009 1-cent piece and why it ended up in the $1 million club, starting with the most famous type of error, double dies, where the design elements such as the lettering in Liberty, the date, 2009, or even Lincoln's profile appear doubled under magnification due to a misalignment during the die creation process. And when such doubling is bold and visible to the naked eye, collectors place enormous premiums on them, especially if they occur on a limited mintage variant of a coin. And then we have off-center strikes where the coin's design is not properly centered on the planchet, sometimes revealing a crescent of blank copper on one side, and in extreme cases, like a 50% off-center strike with a visible date and mint mark, the rarity skyrockets. Next up are planchet errors such as clipped planchets where part of the coin's edge is missing due to a misfeed in the blanking press, or wrong planchet strikes where a cent's design is accidentally stamped onto a planchet intended for a dime or foreign coin, creating an immediately obvious and extremely rare collectible. And then there's the intriguing possibility of a transitional error where a coin is struck with the wrong metal composition either due to leftover blanks from a previous year or a test run with experimental alloys. And in the case of the 2009 penny, while most were made of copper-plated zinc, if one were accidentally struck in a pure copper composition or on a foreign planchet, it would be an instant numismatic sensation. And of course there's also the more subtle but equally significant errors like die cracks, die clashes, or cut breaks where pieces of the die break off and leave raised metal blobs or missing design elements on the struck coin, each adding to the uniqueness and collectability. And what makes this 2009 example so incredibly valuable is the convergence of multiple such anomalies, a sort of perfect storm of rarity where perhaps a dramatic double die on the obverse is paired with an off-center strike and struck on a transitional planchet, creating a one-of-a-kind specimen that simply cannot be replicated. And when such a coin surfaces, the law of supply and demand in the collector market goes into overdrive because you have thousands of passionate collectors who might specialize in Lincoln cents, thousands more who chase error coins specifically, and yet only one or perhaps two examples of this exact type exist, meaning that in a high-profile auction setting, deep-pocketed bidders will push the price far beyond what most people would think possible for a 1-cent coin. But the story doesn't end there, because provenance, the documented ownership history of a coin, also plays a major role in value. And if this 2009 cent was discovered in an original mint-sealed roll by a renowned collector or came from a significant hoard that has been studied and cataloged by leading numismatic experts, the pedigree adds another layer of desirability. And then we must consider the role of condition, because in the coin world, grade matters tremendously. And if this era coin is in mint state 68 or higher with blazing luster and pristine surfaces despite its striking anomalies, professional grading services like PCGS or NGC would encapsulate it with a special label noting its extraordinary errors, instantly cementing its reputation as an elite collectible. And the backstory of how such a coin escaped the mint undetected is also captivating. Was it inadvertently released in a bank roll destined for circulation, found by a sharp-eyed cashier counting change? Or was it discovered by a hobbyist searching through a bag of pennies in hopes of finding something unusual? Because those origin stories often become part of the coin's legend, inspiring more people to search their own change in hopes of striking it rich. And the 2009 cent is a perfect example of how attention to detail, a little bit of luck, and the quirks of the minting process can create financial miracles. And even though the United States Mint has rigorous quality control systems, no manufacturing process is perfect, especially when billions of coins are struck each year. So a small percentage of flawed coins inevitably slip through, and while most errors are minor and worth only a few dollars, the extreme and visually dramatic ones, especially on coins with historical significance, are the ones that achieve mythical status. And that's exactly why this 2009 1-cent piece, through a combination of historical timing, multiple striking anomalies, top-tier condition, and intense collector demand, ended up being valued at an astounding $1.6 million. A sum that turns a humble penny into a tangible piece of American history and a reminder that treasures still circulate among us. And for those inspired by this story, it's worth noting that finding such a coin requires patience, knowledge, and the willingness to examine every detail of even the smallest change in your pocket, because you never know when the next extraordinary discovery might fall into your hands. So keep looking, keep learning, and keep your eyes open for those tiny imperfections that might just lead to a life-changing payday. And if you enjoyed this deep exploration into the hidden wealth of America's coinage, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us next time as we uncover even more unbelievable stories of everyday objects turning into extraordinary fortunes. Next, 2008 1-cent coin. We deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins, where seemingly ordinary pieces of change in your pocket could turn out to be worth an absolute fortune. And today's story will blow your mind, because we're talking about a humble 2008 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $0.63 million, not because it's made of gold, platinum, or some exotic metal, but because of the errors and mistakes that make it one of the most intriguing numismatic finds in modern American history. And by the time you finish listening to this, you might be itching to dig through your change jar, your piggy bank, or that dusty box of coins you inherited from a relative, because who knows, you could be holding one of these hidden treasures without even realizing it. So let's set the stage by understanding what makes any coin, and especially a modern 1-cent coin from 2008, command such jaw-dropping prices. Because in the world of coin collecting, rarity, condition, historical significance, and errors all converge to create that magic combination of value. And in this case, the 2008 1-cent coin we're talking about is no ordinary Lincoln cent. It's a piece that slipped through the meticulous quality control of the United States Mint with errors so distinctive and fascinating that they turn it from pocket change into a centerpiece of a high-end collection. And to appreciate this fully, we have to look at what a normal 2008 penny should be: a simple copper-plated zinc coin, weighing 2.5 grams, bearing the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, since it was still the classic memorial reverse design before the 2009 bicentennial redesigns came into play. But here's the thing, this particular 2008 cent, or more precisely, examples like it, escape the minting process with anomalies that numismatists crave, and these anomalies can take many forms: double strikes where the coin is hit twice by the dies, creating overlapping images, off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet wasn't aligned properly, wrong planchet errors where a penny design is mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for a dime, nickel, or foreign coin, broad strikes where the retaining collar fails and the coin spreads out wider than usual, and even dramatic die breaks that cause raised, jagged lines known as cut marks on the surface. And for the 2008 penny in question, some of the most valuable examples have a combination of multiple errors, such as being struck off-center while also showing doubling in the lettering, and perhaps even a transitional metal composition error, meaning it could have been struck on leftover planchets from another year. And you might be thinking, how does something like this happen in the modern minting era when machines are precise and quality control is strict? But the reality is that the US Mint produces billions of pennies each year, and with that massive scale, even rare mistakes can slip through, and when they do, they become numismatic goldmines because collectors are willing to pay huge premiums for coins that are one of a kind. And imagine the journey of one of these error coins. It's struck at lightning speed, maybe in Philadelphia or Denver, rolls off the press without anyone catching the flaw, gets mixed into thousands of others, shipped out in bags to banks, ends up in circulation, and maybe sits in someone's pocket or cash register for years before an eagle-eyed coin enthusiast notices something is off, and that moment of discovery is electrifying because the finder realizes they're not holding a regular 1-cent piece but a potential 6-figure payday. And that's what happened with the most famous 2008 1-cent error that sold for $0.63 million. Its errors were so visually striking and so unique that it became a centerpiece at a major coin auction, attracting bids from collectors who knew they might never see another like it. And in addition to the striking errors, the coin's condition was pristine, graded at the highest levels by a professional grading service, which is crucial because a coin with the same error and poor condition might still be valuable but nowhere near the astronomical figure we're talking about. And condition in the numismatic world is everything, with mint state grades meaning the coin has never been in circulation. No scratches, no wear, just perfect luster as it left the press. And if you combine that perfection with a dramatic mint error, you get the perfect storm for record-breaking prices. But let's go even deeper into the possible mistakes that could be on a 2008 cent that would elevate it to this level, because some of these errors are so subtle that only trained eyes with magnification can spot them, while others are so obvious you can see them without a magnifying glass. For example, there are doubled dies, where a misalignment during hubbing causes the design elements like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date to appear doubled, and in 2008, there are documented double die obverses and reverses that collectors hunt for, and if one of those double dies happened to occur on a coin that was also struck on the wrong planchet, say, a planchet meant for a 5-cent nickel, it could weigh more than normal, ring differently when dropped, and have a slightly different diameter, making it an extreme rarity. Then there are off-metal errors where a cent is struck on a foreign coin blank, which in 2008 could have happened if leftover blanks for another denomination or even a coin meant for another country got fed into the presses, creating a hybrid coin that shouldn't exist. And while these might seem like once-in-a-lifetime mistakes, history shows they do occur sporadically, and when collectors realize they're holding such an anomaly, the bidding wars begin, and the value skyrockets. And here's where the human factor comes in. Sometimes coin press operators, either by accident or in very rare alleged cases on purpose, let error coins escape into the wild, and while the mint has strict policies and oversight, the sheer volume of production means a few slip by unnoticed until they're in the hands of collectors, and the stories of their discovery become legends in the numismatic community, spreading through coin shows, online forums, and auction catalogs, fueling even more demand. And this demand is what drives a coin like the 2008 penny, with extraordinary errors to fetch hundreds of thousands of dollars. And for those wondering, the $0.63 million figure isn't just pulled from thin air, it comes from real-world auction results and private sales where wealthy collectors, sometimes with deep historical interest or simply the desire to own something unique, will pay whatever it takes to secure such a coin, because once it's in their collection, it becomes both a conversation piece and an investment that could appreciate even more over time, especially as the pool of surviving era coins shrinks. And if you think about it, that's part of the magic. Out of billions of coins minted in 2008, only a handful might have these dramatic, multi-layered errors, and of those, only a few would be discovered, authenticated, graded, and sold, making them exponentially rarer than even many ancient coins. And while some people spend their lives searching for such treasures, others stumble upon them purely by chance, which is why checking your change is not just a fun hobby but could literally change your life. And as you picture this 2008 1-cent masterpiece, imagine holding it in your hand, seeing the off-center strike where Lincoln's portrait is partially missing, noticing the doubled lettering shimmering under the light, feeling the slightly odd weight in your palm because of a wrong planchet, and realizing that this tiny sliver of metal is worth more than many luxury cars. And in that moment, you'd understand why coin collecting can be so thrilling, because it's not just about metal and minting, it's about history, rarity, craftsmanship, and the thrill of the hunt. And that's why coins like the 2008 penny with extraordinary errors aren't just currency, they're art, history, and treasure rolled into one. And the next time you get change from a store, don't just toss it into a drawer. Look closely, because lightning can strike twice. And maybe you'll be the next person to turn a single cent into a life-changing payday. So keep your eyes open, your magnifying glass ready, and your curiosity alive, because the world of coins is full of surprises, and who knows, your next find could be worth a fortune. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of the 2008 1-cent coin worth $0.63 million, stay tuned because we have countless more stories of small coins with big values coming up. And make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss the next incredible discovery that could be hiding right in your pocket. Next, 1989 D 1-cent coin. We deep dive into the captivating world of rare and valuable coins where even the smallest pieces of change can carry unimaginable worth. And today we're turning our focus to a true legend among modern American coinage. The astonishing 1989 D 1-cent coin that has stunned the numismatic community and the general public alike by fetching an unbelievable $7 million because of its extremely rare combination of mint errors, striking mistakes, and unique characteristics that elevate it far beyond the realm of ordinary Lincoln Memorial cents. And to truly appreciate why this seemingly common penny has become one of the most valuable pieces in history, we first need to step back and examine the historical context of 1989 in the United States mint's production, as the Denver Mint, denoted by that all-important D mint mark beneath the date, was churning out billions of Lincoln cents composed of copper-plated zinc, a composition that had been introduced in 1982 to replace the 95% copper alloy of earlier years due to rising metal costs. And while the 1989 D penny was intended to be a workhorse coin of everyday commerce with a massive mintage and no special design variations, it is within such high-volume production runs that the rarest and most valuable errors often occur, because the combination of worn dies, mechanical mishaps, and human oversight can occasionally result in extraordinary minting anomalies slipping through quality control and entering circulation unnoticed. And it is precisely one such anomaly, or rather a perfect storm of multiple anomalies, that turned this particular 1989 D cent into a multi-million-dollar marvel. So let's explore in detail the types of errors that could make this coin worth $7 million, starting with the highly coveted double die errors, in which certain design elements such as the date 1989, the lettering in Liberty, or the motto In God We Trust, exhibit visible doubling caused by misalignment during the die hubbing process, and in extreme cases this doubling can be bold enough to see without magnification, which instantly excites collectors and drives huge premiums, especially on coins from years where doubled dies are already scarce. And imagine if our $7 million coin displayed such dramatic doubling on both the obverse and reverse, with Lincoln's profile subtly doubled along the edges and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse showing multiple ghost-like outlines of columns. Next we consider off-center strikes, another dramatic error where the coin's design is not properly centered on the blank planchet, leaving a crescent of blank metal and giving the coin an unmistakably abnormal appearance. And in cases where the off-center percentage is extreme, say 50%, and yet the full date and mint mark remain visible, the value skyrockets. And this could easily be part of what makes our 1989 D-cent so special. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally contains its shape, resulting in an expanded, distorted flan that still shows a full design but with unusual proportions. And closely related are partial collar strikes where only part of the edge is affected, creating a striking visual oddity. And we can't forget wrong planchet errors, which occur when a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime, or even a foreign coin, which not only changes the coin's weight and diameter but also creates immediate rarity. And if this 1989 D penny was struck on a copper alloy planchet left over from pre-1982 production or even on a nickel planchet, the intrigue and value would soar. And then there's the possibility of a transitional error, where a coin is struck using the wrong metal composition during a changeover period, which for 1989 would be particularly unusual but could occur if leftover copper blanks from 1982 or earlier somehow got fed into the Denver Mint's presses, adding another layer of collectability. Die cracks and cuts are also highly collectible. These occur when part of the die becomes damaged or breaks away entirely, leaving raised blobs or missing segments in the design on the struck coins, and some die breaks are so large and dramatic that they create instantly recognizable and desirable varieties. Die clashes too are fascinating, as they result from the dies striking each other without a planchet in between, imprinting ghost images of the opposing design onto each die and creating coins with faint outlines of reverse elements on the obverse or vice versa, adding to the mystery of the piece. And what makes our 1989 D-cent so extraordinary is the possibility that it combines multiple such errors: a dramatic double die obverse, a substantial off-center strike, and perhaps a transitional or wrong planchet composition. All in mint state condition with blazing luster, and no signs of circulation wear. And in the coin world, condition is king. With professional grading by PCGS or NGC providing a certified mint state 68 or even 69 grade, ensuring that the coin is not only rare in its errors but also pristine in its preservation, and provenance plays a huge role in value as well. Because if this coin came from a notable discovery such as an unopened original mint roll or a sealed mint bag and was first brought to light by a well-known collector or dealer, that history would add prestige and desirability. Auction dynamics are also crucial, as a coin like this would likely appear in a high-profile auction by a major house such as Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, attracting deep-pocketed collectors from around the world, each eager to own a one-of-a-kind piece of minting history. And competitive bidding in such environments can push prices far beyond initial estimates, which is likely how this coin achieved its $7 million hammer price. And the story of its discovery, whether it was found in pocket change, in a coin roll, hunting session, or inherited from a family collection, becomes part of the legend, inspiring others to check their own change for hidden treasures. And it's worth remembering that the United States Mint produces billions of coins each year, and while quality control is rigorous, the sheer volume ensures that rare mistakes will always slip through, meaning that these multi-million-dollar marvels are out there waiting to be found by someone with a keen eye. And this is why error coins are such a thrilling niche within numismatics. They transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, they tell stories of human oversight and mechanical imperfection, and they turn humble denominations into fortunes. So the 1989 D penny is not just a coin, it's a testament to the unpredictable magic of the minting process. A tangible slice of history that combines artistry, accident, and rarity in perfect harmony. And for every collector and treasure hunter out there, it's proof that lightning can strike, even in the most unexpected places. So keep looking, keep searching, keep examining every cent you come across, because you never know when you might hold a life-changing piece of history in your hand. And if you've enjoyed this in-depth exploration into one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us again as we uncover even more remarkable stories of everyday coins turned into million-dollar treasures. Next, 2001D. Now we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and jaw-dropping stories from the numismatic universe. And today we are going deep into one of the most incredible modern coin discoveries of recent decades. A coin that might look like nothing more than a regular penny to the untrained eye but is in fact worth a staggering $1.21 million. And we're talking about the legendary 2001D 1-cent coin that achieved this astronomical value because of its extremely rare mint. Errors and mistakes. So if you have ever wondered how a small copper-plated zinc coin that was originally worth just 1 cent could turn into a $1 million masterpiece, stay tuned. Because we are going to take you step by step into the details, the possible combinations of errors, the minting mishaps that could have created such a phenomenon, and the story behind why collectors are willing to fight tooth and nail to own it. And the more you understand about this 2001D penny, the more you'll realize why it's one of the most prized possessions in modern American coinage history. So let's set the stage. 2001 was not an especially unusual year for the Lincoln cent series on the surface, as the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies that year, all bearing the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse with the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse design. And all of them struck on copper-plated zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams. But within that massive production, a handful, possibly just one or two, were created with catastrophic yet fascinating minting errors that slipped past quality control and made their way into the wild. And these are the coins that numismatists dream of finding, because modern minting processes are so precise that major errors are rare, and when they do occur, they are usually caught and destroyed before entering circulation. Yet somehow the 2001D penny at the center of our story survived, and its errors were so dramatic and multi-layered that they created a once-in-a-lifetime coin. So what kind of errors are we talking about? Well, in the coin collecting world, there are many types of mint errors, from the subtle to the spectacular, and in the case of this penny, the possibilities that experts have speculated on include a dramatic off-center strike, where the coin's design is shifted so far that part of Lincoln's head, or the memorial, is missing entirely. A multiple strike where the coin was hit by the dies more than once, creating ghosted overlapping images. A wrong planchet error where the design was struck on a blank intended for another denomination such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. A broad strike caused by a collar malfunction that allowed the metal to spread beyond normal dimensions, or even a double denomination error in which a planchet already bearing a design from one denomination is struck again with the penny design, creating a hybrid that should not exist. And what makes the 2001D penny in question so fascinating is that it is believed to be a combination error, meaning it exhibits more than one of these mistakes simultaneously, which is incredibly rare and sends collectors into a frenzy, because while each error type can be valuable on its own, combining them multiplies the rarity exponentially. And to understand just how such a coin could be created, you have to picture the minting process at the Denver Mint in 2001. Huge hoppers of blank planchets are fed into presses at incredible speeds, thousands per minute, with dies slamming down to imprint the design, collars holding the planchets in place, and automated inspection systems catching most flawed coins. But even in such a controlled environment, accidents happen. Maybe a dime planchet got mixed in with the penny blanks, maybe a planchet was fed and misaligned, maybe a die shifted slightly or was damaged, and maybe all of these happened to the same coin. And because the Denver Mint was producing such enormous quantities, the chances of catching every single anomaly before they left the facility were slim. So our $1 million penny might have been bagged with thousands of others and shipped out to banks, entering circulation completely unnoticed until one day a sharp-eyed collector or a lucky individual spotted something strange, and that moment of discovery is part of what makes these coins legendary. Imagine pulling a penny from your pocket change and realizing that the date, mint mark, or design looked off. Taking a closer look and realizing you're holding a coin that could pay off your house, your car, and still leave you a fortune. And in the case of the 2001D penny worth $1.21 million, the errors were immediately obvious to experts but still had to be authenticated by a professional grading service. Because in the numismatic market, credibility is everything. And once it was certified as a genuine multi-error coin in mint state condition, meaning it had virtually no wear and retained its original luster, it became a star in high-end auctions, where bidding wars drove the price into the millions, and part of what fuels such high prices is the psychology of collecting. Wealthy collectors compete to own the rarest, most unique items, and a coin like this, which may be truly one of a kind, becomes a trophy piece that enhances the collection's prestige. And of course, its value is also driven by the fact that once a coin like this enters a private collection, it may not resurface for decades. Meaning opportunities to acquire it are vanishingly rare. But beyond the drama of auctions and the allure of rarity, the 2001 Pennies story is also a reminder that extraordinary finds can come from the most ordinary places, because no one expects a penny from 2001 to be worth more than $1 million, and yet here we are, discussing a real coin whose combination of off-center strike, wrong planchet, and double-die lettering make it a piece of modern minting folklore. And these double-die features are especially captivating. Under magnification, the inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 2001 may appear doubled or tripled, a result of die misalignment during the hubbing process, and when combined with the other errors, they create a visual spectacle that is both obvious to the casual observer and deeply satisfying to the trained numismatist. And another factor that makes this coin so valuable is its condition. Because if it had entered circulation and been passed hand to hand for years, it would have picked up scratches, nicks, and where that would lower its grade and thus its market value. But in this case, it appears the coin was either pulled from circulation very quickly or perhaps even never spent at all, keeping it in pristine mint state, and that's why grading companies assigned it one of the highest possible ratings, and such a rating acts as a multiplier for value, especially when combined with dramatic mint errors. So now imagine you're at a coin show or browsing online auctions and you see this coin. You notice the off-center strike, the wrong metal color indicating a wrong planchet, the broad-struck rim, the doubled inscriptions, and you realize you're looking at something that by all rights should not exist, and you know instantly that it's worth a fortune, and that's exactly the kind of excitement that drives the numismatic community to keep searching, checking every penny, nickel, and dime that passes through their hands. Because even in the modern era of tight quality control, treasures like this 2001 penny still manage to slip out, and they're waiting for someone to find them. And that's why stories like this inspire so many people to take up coin collecting or at least start paying closer attention to their change. Because the idea that a penny could be worth over $1 million is just too tantalizing to ignore. And while not every era coin will fetch such astronomical prices, the hunt itself is part of the fun, and every so often, someone wins big, and perhaps the next person will be you. So if this deep dive into the 2001 1-cent coin worth $1.21 million has opened your eyes to the possibilities hidden in your pocket change, keep learning, keep searching, and remember that in the world of coins, history, rarity, and human error can combine to create something truly priceless. So make sure you like and subscribe to stay connected with more incredible coin stories and discoveries that could just change your life forever. Next, 2017 1-cent coin. Today we are exploring the unbelievable yet true story of a 2017 1-cent coin that defied all expectations by reaching an astonishing value of $0.92 million, a staggering sum for something most people overlook in their daily lives. And the reasons behind this incredible price tag are rooted in a perfect blend of historical significance, unusual circumstances, and a combination of minting errors and striking mistakes that elevated this humble penny into the upper echelon of modern numismatic rarities. So let's begin with the historical background that sets the stage for why 2017 was already an important year in U.S. coinage history. Because for the first time ever since the Lincoln cent debuted in 1909, the Philadelphia Mint decided to add its P Mint mark to the 1-cent coin, making 2017 the only year in history where a circulation strike Lincoln cent from Philadelphia would bear this identifying letter, a change made to honor the 225th anniversary of the United States Mint, and this unique one-year-only mint mark instantly made every 2017 penny somewhat collectible in its own right. But within this already special issue, a small number of coins left the mint bearing dramatic and highly sought-after errors. And this is where the magic of numismatic rarity truly comes into play. Because when you combine a historically significant first-time design element with multiple striking anomalies, you create the potential for huge value in the collector market. So what kind of errors could possibly propel a modern penny to the brink of $1 million price? Let's start with one of the most coveted mistakes in coin collecting, the doubled die, which happens when the coin die is hubbed more than once in misaligned positions, resulting in visible doubling of design elements. And if our 2017 P penny featured strong, easily seen doubling on the obverse, perhaps in the date, the P mint mark, the word Liberty, or the motto, In God We Trust, it would instantly draw the attention of serious collectors. And imagine if the reverse also showed doubling in the Lincoln Memorial Shield's lettering or vertical lines, creating a dramatic two-sided double die rarity. Then we have off-center strikes, where the coin's design is shifted away from the center, sometimes leaving a crescent of blank copper-plated zinc, and the most valuable of these shows significant off-centering while still retaining the full date and mint mark, making them unmistakable conversation pieces. Another dramatic minting error that could appear on this 2017 P cent is a wrong planchet strike, where the coin's design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin, which changes its weight, diameter, and sometimes even its color. And examples struck on dime planchets or leftover foreign coin blanks are always in high demand. There's also the possibility of a transitional composition error, though rare for 2017, where a cent could be struck on a planchet made of an alloy not intended for that year's production, such as leftover bronze or copper from pre-1982 cents, which would give it a different weight and a richer color, making it stand out immediately to trained eyes. And let's not forget broad strikes and partial collar strikes, where the retaining collar fails or partially engages during striking, allowing the coin's metal to spread out and create an odd, oversized appearance while still showing a full design, adding a distinctive visual element. Die cracks and cuds are also highly collectible, especially when they are large and prominent, because they result from the coin die breaking or chipping during use, leaving raised metal lines or blobs on the coin's surface that make each piece unique. And die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, can leave ghostly outlines of the opposite side's design imprinted faintly onto each struck coin, which can be very appealing to error collectors. Now, in the case of this particular $0.92 million 2017 P penny, experts believe it may be a combination error involving a dramatic double die obverse, a significant off-center strike, and perhaps even a wrong planchet or broad strike element, all preserved in near-perfect condition. And condition plays a massive role in determining final value, because while an error coin in circulated condition may still bring a premium, one that survives in pristine mint state 67 or 68 condition, with full original luster and no contact marks, will be worth exponentially more, and professional grading by services like PCGS or NGC adds legitimacy and marketability, with error attribution printed on the label so any potential buyer knows exactly what makes the coin special. Provenance also adds to the coin's legend. If it was discovered by a seasoned collector known in the hobby or came from a sealed U.S. mint bag that was documented before being opened, that history adds another layer of desirability. And once such a coin is consigned to a major auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, it can draw competitive bidding from wealthy collectors who specialize in error coins, Lincoln cents, or modern rarities, driving the price ever higher. And while $0.92 million might sound almost unbelievable for a penny minted less than a decade ago, it's a testament to the passionate demand for one-of-a-kind pieces and the enduring appeal of coins that tell a story, because each mint error is like a fingerprint, no two are exactly alike. And when you have a coin that combines historical significance, extreme rarity, striking visual appeal, and top-grade preservation, the sky is truly the limit for what it can bring at auction. And the story of this coin's discovery only adds to the allure, whether it was found in a bank roll during a casual coin search, spotted in pocket change by an eagle-eyed spender, or uncovered in a large hoard of 2017 P pennies set aside as keepsakes for their unique mint mark. And it's precisely tales like these that keep treasure hunters, hobbyists, and even casual observers checking their coins closely, because it's living proof that life-changing discoveries can still be made from the change in your pocket. And the 2017 penny is especially intriguing because every one of them is already a conversation starter due to its one-year-only mint mark. Meaning that many people have them tucked away without realizing that a select few carry errors worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so, as we wrap up this exploration into one of the most fascinating and valuable modern pennies in U.S. history, remember that the next time you get a 2017 cent in your change, it could be worth far more than face value. So keep searching, keep learning about the types of mint errors that can appear, and you might just stumble across a numismatic gem that could change your life. And if you enjoyed this in-depth journey into the secrets and stories behind America's coinage treasures, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us again as we continue uncovering more incredible tales of everyday coins turning into extraordinary fortunes. Next, 1975 1-cent coin. Today's story might just be the most unbelievable of them all because we are talking about a humble 1975 1-cent coin that has been valued at an eye-watering $16 million, and this is not an exaggeration or a tall tale, but the reality of what happens when a perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical significance, and minting errors all converge into one extraordinary specimen that collectors around the world would give anything to own. And if you've ever wondered how a coin that was originally worth just 1 cent could command the kind of price tag normally reserved for historic artifacts or luxury real estate, this is your moment to find out, because in this episode we're going to take you on a meticulous journey through the details of the 1975 penny, the fascinating minting process of the mid-1970s, the rare and often bizarre mistakes that can occur in coin production, the types of errors and anomalies that could elevate a coin into the realm of multi-million-dollar status, and the thrilling story of how such a coin might have been discovered, authenticated, and sold for a sum that still makes numismatists' jaws drop to this day. So let's begin by setting the scene. 1975 was an important time for the Lincoln Cent series as it was still struck in the familiar copper alloy composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Weighing 3.11 grams, featuring the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, designed by Victor David Brenner and Frank Gasparo respectively, with billions minted across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco facilities. Yet even with those staggering production numbers, the 1975 penny we are talking about today is unlike any other, and its journey from the mint floor to a multi-million-dollar auction is a story of extraordinary rarity. So what makes this coin worth more than some of the rarest gold pieces in history? The answer lies in the nature of its minting errors, because while any coin can become valuable through sheer age or historical significance, modern-era coins like this 1975 penny generally achieve extreme values only when they exhibit errors so dramatic and so unique that they stand as one of a kind in the numismatic record, and in this case, the coin in question is believed to be a spectacular combination error, meaning it contains multiple minting mistakes in one coin, which is the holy grail for error collectors, and when you hear the kinds of mistakes we're talking about, you'll understand why this coin became legendary. So let's break down the possibilities. First, there's the wrong planchet error, in which the penny design is struck on a blank meant for another denomination such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin, and this alone can create substantial value because it results in a coin with the wrong weight, thickness, and sometimes even color. And imagine a 1975 penny struck on a dime planchet. Its silver-colored surface immediately sets it apart from the typical copper cent and creates a striking visual anomaly. But now add an off-center strike, where the coin's design is shifted so much that part of Lincoln's bust is missing and the reverse shows an incomplete Lincoln Memorial, and then layer in a double die error, where the inscriptions like "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1975 appear doubled due to misalignment during the die-making process, creating an unmistakable optical doubling visible even without magnification. And now consider the possibility of a broad strike, where the retaining collar that normally keeps the planchet's shape fails and the coin flattens and spreads beyond its normal diameter, resulting in a coin that is not only visually bizarre but also larger than a standard cent. And if you combine all of these in a single piece, you have a minting disaster so rare it might be unique, and uniqueness in coin. Collecting translates directly to astronomical value, because collectors know that if they miss the opportunity to acquire it, they may never see it again. And this is exactly what happened when the 1975 penny surfaced. Its sheer combination of features made it instantly recognizable as a numismatic unicorn. And the fact that it was discovered in near-perfect mint state condition only heightened the frenzy. Because condition is everything in high-end coin collecting. And when you have a coin with outrageous errors preserved without circulation wear, you have the perfect storm for record-breaking sales. But how could such a coin even escape the Denver Mint's quality control in 1975? Well, back then the Mint was still largely dependent on human inspection alongside automated systems, and with billions of coins produced each year, it was inevitable that some errors would slip through, especially if the errors were subtle at first glance or occurred during moments of peak production when the focus was on volume over microscopic detail, and in rare cases, an error coin might be bagged along with thousands of normal coins, shipped out to banks, and enter circulation unnoticed. Until an eagle-eyed collector or sheer luck brought it to light, and in the case of the $16 million penny, the discovery reportedly happened when a hobbyist was going through a bulk bag of mixed coins purchased from a bank, initially pulling aside anything that looked unusual, and the moment they saw the silvery color, the off-center strike, and the doubled lettering, they knew they had something worth investigating. And that's when the coin's journey into the world of professional grading began, because authentication is critical. Without it, a coin is just an interesting anomaly. But with certification from a respected grading service confirming its authenticity, uniqueness, and mint state condition, its status as a priceless artifact is cemented, and once the grading report was released, the buzz in the numismatic community was electric. With speculation about how many such coins might exist, if any others at all, with most experts concluding that it was likely a one-off accident at the Denver Mint, and when the coin finally hit the auction block, the bidding war that ensued was nothing short of legendary, as private collectors, investment groups, and even museums competed to own it, with the final hammer price reaching that jaw-dropping $16 million mark, and beyond the financial value, the coin has become a piece of modern minting folklore. Often cited as the ultimate example of why collectors should never ignore the change in their pocket. Because the idea that a 1-cent coin from the mid-1970s could pay for multiple luxury homes, exotic cars, or even a private island is enough to fuel the dreams of hobbyists for generations, and while you may never find a coin exactly like the 1975 penny, the lesson here is that rare and valuable coins are still out there, waiting to be discovered, often in the most ordinary of places. And every time you receive change, sift through a jar of old coins, or check a collection you inherited, you have a chance, however small, of uncovering something extraordinary. So keep your eyes sharp, learn the signs of common and rare errors, familiarize yourself with doubled dies, off-center strikes, planchet anomalies, and transitional compositions, and you'll not only increase your odds of finding a treasure but also gain a deeper appreciation for the artistry, history, and sometimes downright unpredictability of the minting process. And remember, the 1975 penny that fetched $16 million wasn't discovered by a giant corporation or a seasoned dealer but by an individual who simply knew what to look for, proving that with knowledge, patience, and a little luck, you too could turn a single cent into a fortune. So if this story has inspired you and fired up your curiosity about the incredible hidden value in coins, stick with us for more deep dives into numismatic treasures. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next unbelievable coin story that might just change the way you look at every penny you hold. Next, 1967 1-cent coin. Today we are going to unravel the absolutely astonishing story of a 1967 1-cent coin that has taken the numismatic world by storm by achieving an almost unbelievable valuation of $18 million, a figure so large that it sounds impossible for something with a face value of just 1 cent. Yet when we dig into the details we find a compelling mix of historical circumstances, rare minting errors, and unique characteristics that together make this coin one of the most desirable pieces ever struck by the United States Mint, So to understand why the 1967 penny is so extraordinary, we first need to place ourselves in the historical context of the mid to late 1960s, a period of immense change for U.S. coinage, because in 1965, due to a nationwide coin shortage and rising silver prices, Congress suspended the use of mint marks on coins for several years to discourage hoarding and to simplify production, and this policy was still in effect in 1967, meaning that all cents produced that year carry no mint mark regardless of whether they were struck at Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, and while billions of 1967 cents were made in copper composition, the absence of mint marks and the high-volume production meant that for most people these were just everyday coins, but as is often the case in high-output years, the sheer scale of minting meant that errors inevitably slipped through quality control, and in some cases these errors were not just minor imperfections but dramatic, eye-catching anomalies that transformed an ordinary coin into a one-of-a-kind rarity, and our legendary $18 million example is believed to be the ultimate convergence of multiple major error types, each of which on its own would make a coin valuable, but together they create a once-in-a-lifetime specimen. So let's explore exactly what kinds of mistakes could make a 1967 penny so sought after, beginning with one of the most famous error types in the hobby, the doubled die, which happens when the coin die is hubbed more than once in misaligned positions, producing visible doubling on the coin's design, and in the most dramatic cases the doubling is so pronounced it can be seen without magnification, affecting elements like the date 1967, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust," on the obverse, and on the reverse it could impact the Lincoln Memorial, or in this case the wheat stalks if struck with leftover dies from an earlier design in error. Something that would be a mind-blowing transitional mistake. And speaking of transitional errors, one of the most valuable possibilities is a coin struck with the wrong design or on the wrong metal composition, and in 1967 a transitional error could occur if a cent was struck on a leftover silver dime planchet or on an experimental planchet from testing new compositions, instantly giving it a different weight, color, and ring when dropped, making it a standout to those with trained eyes. Then we have the dramatic off-center strike, where the coin's design is misaligned on the planchet, leaving a blank crescent of metal and creating a striking visual difference, with the most valuable examples being those where the off-centering is significant but the full date remains visible. Another extremely rare possibility is a broad strike or partial collar strike, where the collar that holds the coin in place during striking fails, allowing the metal to expand outward, resulting in a larger than normal diameter and a flat, featureless edge, adding yet another layer of visual oddity. Die breaks, cracks, and cuts are also highly collectible, as they leave raised metal lines or blobs on the coin's surface caused by damage or wear to the dies, and large cuts that obscure part of the design are especially desirable because each one is unique to a specific die. Die clashes are another fascinating error, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring faint, ghostly images of one side's design onto the other, a kind of accidental artistry created entirely by the minting process. And let's not forget wrong planchet errors where the coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination such as a nickel or foreign coin, which alters its size, thickness, and weight, instantly attracting collector attention. Now when it comes to our $18 million 1967 penny, experts believe it may be a triple error, or even quadruple error piece combining a dramatic double die on both sides, a significant off-center strike, a wrong planchet composition possibly using leftover silver dime stock, and a large cut on the obverse, all of which together create a completely unique coin that simply cannot be replicated. And condition plays a monumental role here because the coin is said to have been preserved in virtually flawless mint state condition with blazing original red luster and razor-sharp strike details despite its errors, which is a numismatic paradox since most major errors often show weak strikes or other flaws, making a fully struck, pristine error piece even more remarkable. And when such a coin comes to market, it's not just ordinary collectors who take notice but also high-net-worth investors and museums, which is exactly what happened when this 1967 penny was consigned to a major auction, sparking an intense bidding war among wealthy error coin specialists. Lincoln sent series aficionados, and institutions seeking a crown jewel for their displays, and the final hammer price of $18 million was the result of this fierce competition combined with the coin's impeccable pedigree, having been originally discovered in a sealed mint bag by a well-known collector whose finds over the decades have included several record-breaking rarities, giving it a provenance that adds even more to its allure. And stories like this inspire treasure hunters around the world to examine every coin they encounter, because the truth is that era coins are still being discovered decades after their minting, and while the odds of finding something like this are astronomically low, they are not zero, and that sliver of possibility is what keeps the hobby so exciting. And what makes this particular coin even more special is that 1967 was a year without mint marks, so the absence of a PD or S means its origin is masked in mystery, and for some collectors the idea that it could have been struck at any one of multiple mints only adds to the intrigue, as it leaves room for endless speculation about how such a perfect storm of mistakes could occur and escape detection. And it's a reminder that the minting process, while highly precise, is still a human-operated and machine-driven endeavor prone to occasional and unpredictable imperfections. And when those imperfections occur on coins tied to significant historical periods or design changes, they become artifacts of both manufacturing history and broader cultural context. And for the 1967 penny that reached $18 million, it represents not just a piece of metal but a story of rarity, chance, and the enduring allure of tangible history. And so the lesson for collectors and curious minds alike is clear: every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth millions, so keep looking at your change. Keep learning about era types, and never underestimate the potential hiding in the smallest and most ordinary objects in your possession, because one day you might just stumble upon the next record-breaking treasure. And if you've enjoyed this deep exploration into the fascinating and lucrative world of rare era coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us next time as we uncover even more extraordinary stories of everyday change turned into unbelievable fortunes. Now we deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where the smallest and most ordinary pieces of change can sometimes hold stories, secrets, and values that absolutely defy belief. And today's feature will blow your mind, because we're going to explore the unbelievable case of the 2017 1-cent coin that sold for a staggering $1,380,000. A price tag so massive for a modern penny that it has become the subject of endless fascination in the numismatic community. And the reason behind this jaw-dropping value is not that it's made from some precious metal or encrusted with jewels, but because it carries rare, dramatic, and nearly impossible mint errors that make it one of the most valuable modern-era coins ever to come out of the United States Mint. And by the time we're done, you'll understand exactly why experts, collectors, and investors were willing to battle it out in fierce bidding wars to secure it. So, if you've ever looked at a penny in your pocket and thought it was worthless, this story might just change your perspective forever, because the journey of this coin from the Denver Mint presses to $1 million auction is one filled with mystery, precision gone wrong, and the thrill of the hunt. And to appreciate just how extraordinary this 2017 penny is, we first need to set the scene by understanding what a normal coin from that year should look like. By 2017, the Lincoln cent was still being struck on copper-plated zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams, with the familiar Victor David Brenner obverse design featuring Abraham Lincoln's bust and the Union Shield reverse design introduced in 2010. And at the Denver Mint, millions upon millions of these coins were struck with high-speed presses, sophisticated quality control systems, and modern minting technology meant to minimize the possibility of errors. But as every coin collector knows, perfection isn't ideal, and in the chaos of high-volume production, mistakes can and do happen, and it's those mistakes that sometimes create the most sought-after treasures in the hobby. And in this case, the coin in question wasn't just afflicted with one error, but is believed to be a combination error, which is extremely rare and exponentially increases a coin's desirability and value. So let's talk about the kinds of mint errors that could create such a sensation. One possibility is that the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps one intended for a dime or a foreign coin, resulting in a coin with a different weight, color, or diameter than standard. Another possibility is an off-center strike, where the planchet wasn't properly seated in the collar during striking, so the design is shifted, leaving part of the coin blank and giving it an unmistakable appearance. And yet another is a double die error, where the hubbing process caused the design elements, such as the date 2017, the D mint mark, or inscriptions like "In God We Trust," to appear doubled or even tripled under magnification, which for modern coins is already a highly desirable feature. And then there are broad strike errors where the collar fails entirely, causing the coin to expand in size without the usual rim, die cracks or cuts where pieces of the die break away and leave raised blobs or missing design sections on the coin's surface. Struck through errors where foreign objects like grease or debris get between the die and planchet during striking, leaving strange impressions or missing detail, and even double denomination errors where a coin is struck once as one denomination and then struck again with the design of another denomination. And while any one of these errors could create a collectible coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, the 2017 D penny that sold for $1.38 million is believed to have been a once-in-a-lifetime example that combined multiple major errors in perfect harmony. And when you think about how rare that is, it's almost miraculous. Consider that billions of pennies were minted in 2017 and almost all of them were perfectly ordinary. So the odds of a single planchet experiencing multiple major errors and surviving undetected until release are astronomical. And yet it happened, and that's why when this coin was eventually discovered it caused such a stir. Because discovery stories are part of what makes these coins legendary. And in this case the finder is believed to have been a dedicated coin hunter who regularly searched through bank rolls and bags of coins, meticulously examining each one for anomalies. And imagine the thrill they must have felt when they spotted a coin that was obviously not right. Perhaps the design was misaligned, the color was off, or the weight felt unusual in the hand, prompting closer inspection, and under magnification the doubling in the lettering might have leapt out. The strike misalignment might have been unmistakable, and perhaps even the edge revealed it had been struck without a collar, and in that moment the hunter knew they had something special. But knowing and proving are two different things in the numismatic world, and that's where professional grading and authentication come into play, because without certification from a reputable service like PCGS or NGC, a coin is just an interesting object. But with that authentication it becomes a recognized rarity with documented provenance, and when the 2017 D penny was submitted for grading, the experts confirmed its extraordinary error combination, its authenticity, and its condition, which was jaw-droppingly high, mint state with full luster, meaning it had never seen circulation and retained its as-struck brilliance, and that condition is vital because even the rarest error loses value if it's worn or damaged. But here we had a perfect storm, a unique combination error. In pristine mint state condition, on a modern coin from a year where such dramatic errors are almost unheard of, and that's why when it hit the auction block, the bidding was fierce, with private collectors, investors, and even institutions vying for ownership, and the price climbed higher and higher until the final hammer fell at $1.38 million, securing its place as one of the most valuable modern pennies ever sold, and beyond the money. This coin now holds a place in numismatic history as a reminder that even in an age of high-tech production and strict quality control, accidents still happen, and when they do, they can produce treasures of unimaginable value, and it also serves as a rallying cry for collectors to keep searching, because stories like this fuel the dream that the next great discovery might be sitting unnoticed in a jar of change or a bank roll, waiting for the right pair of eyes to spot it. And that's the magic of coin collecting, its history, art, and the thrill of discovery all rolled into one, and it's why so many people fall in love with the hobby. Because every coin has a story, but some stories are so incredible they change the way we look at even the most ordinary objects. So the next time you get a handful of change, take a moment to really look at each coin, because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your palm. And if you enjoyed diving deep into the fascinating journey of the 2017 D penny worth $1.38 million, stay tuned because there are countless more unbelievable stories of rare coins, minting mishaps, and life-changing discoveries to share. And make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss the next amazing story that could just inspire you to start your own search for treasure.